Hey y'all, let me tell you about Gobble. All Gobble meal kits are pre-prepped. That means less work for you and less waste in your kitchen. Their meal kits include everything you need so you can save time at the store or just skip that trip entirely. I got the box in and I had 3 different meals. I had a Kung Pao chicken, crispy fish tacos, and a beef bourguignon, however you say it. But let me tell you about the classic beef bourguignon. Look, it came with beef pot roast and a beef broth concentrate, red wine demi-glace, cremini mushrooms, cipollone onions, mashed potatoes, baby carrots, and rosemary thyme butter. It was so easy to make. Literally like 15 minutes it took Cindy. And let me tell you something, and all the dishes were fire, but this thing was like a taste explosion in my mouth. It's just unreal. We got to spend more time together and more time doing the things we love because everything came in this one single box right to my door. So see what a difference Gobble will make for your household. Right now, they're offering my listeners a fantastic limited time deal. You get $120 off across 4 boxes plus free shipping and free cookies. And let me tell you, those cookies, I ate one that was sin-baked and it was delicious. Go to gobble.com/real life. That's GOBBLE.com/real life for $120 off your first 4 boxes. This offer is not available on the home site, so don't miss out. This is genius. It's taste explosions in your mouth like you never had.
Every day when you log into ChumbaCasino.com, the ultimate online social casino, you get a free daily bonus. Imagine if you got daily bonuses in other parts of your life.
I chose French fries over loaded French fries.
I asked Stuart from accounting about his weekend, even though I don't care.
I updated my operating system without having to call tech support.
Collect your free daily bonus at ChumbaCasino.com now. And live the Chumba life. VGW Group. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be against you in a court of law. You have the right to an attorney prior to and during questioning. If you can't afford one, the court will appoint one for you. You understand your rights? Warning. Each episode of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast, will contain descriptions of acts of violence or of a sexual nature and are for people that are 18 years or older. Heed my warning, people. I do not get the facts of these cases off the internet or from some television show. These facts I'm retelling were presented to me by the victims of the crime or the perpetrators who committed the crimes. My descriptions of the crime scenes are what I saw with my own 2 eyes. If you are going to get offended, turn this podcast off now. Thank you. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast. I'm Woody Overton, your host. Stay tuned at the end of today's episode, and I'm going to be making some announcements about Real Life, Real Crime and giving some much due shout outs to fans and explaining a couple of things that'll be going on. So today I'm by myself. Jim the Hitman Raffman will be back in 2 weeks, and we're going to be laying down a lot of tracks and a lot of great cases together. But I want to tell this story first. It's interesting and kind of heart-wrenching in a way, if you will. And it's titled, What Happened to Jackie? So in 2003, I became a detective with the Livingston Parish Sheriff's Office. And my first partner that I was assigned to was Detective Chuck Watts. And Chuck was probably the most senior detective in the sheriff's office by far. And I affectionately called him Dear Old Dad or Homicide Chuck because he loved to work a homicide. Chuck was so chill pretty much about everything, but he'd been there a long time, right? But when the body hit the ground, the man would get fired up. And he really, really was an awesome detective and has great interview skills and everything. I mean, he's just a really great law enforcement professional. And I know he's retired now and splitting his time between Louisiana and Tennessee. So, Dad, if you hear this, congratulations on your retirement. But Chuck and I were working the night shift, and we rotated out detectives when your week came up to be on nights. During the weekdays, Monday through Friday, the regular detectives came out at 8 o'clock in the morning, and we would come out at, I think it's like 3 o'clock in the evening during the week part of it. We would split from like 3 to 11 and 11 to 6, whatever it was. And we would only call each other out if it was something major. Otherwise, if it's just like a burglary or a rape or something like that we could handle ourselves, we wouldn't bother each other on the late part. Now, on the weekends, Chuck would work the day part and I would work the nights. And I liked working nights anyway because that's when all the good stuff happened, right? So basically, I was covering 12 hours, if you want to say from sundown to sunrise, and Chuck would cover the daytime part. And it was on a Sunday afternoon around, I guess, about 3:30. And I was about to go 10-8 anyway, with 10-8 on duty. And Chuck called and he said, "Hey man, we got a body in Holden." And I said, "What's up with it?" And he said that a male called 911 and said he found his daughter dead in her bedroom. And he said, "It's probably going to be an overdose or something. So, but we need to roll over there and check it out." I said, "All right." So I was living in northern end of Livingston Parish. So this house was in between Holden and Albany, a rural area, probably 35, 40 minutes away from me. And then Chuck had been working something on the extreme west side of the parish. So he was having to leave that to go to this call also. So we knew it was going to take us a little while to get there, but naturally I went as fast as I could. And when I pulled up, I saw a Acadian ambulance was backed up to the door. Now let me describe this. When I say I pulled up, this was a trailer sat on a big yard, probably 5 or 10 acres, something like that. There were no neighbors directly across the street, no neighbors directly on either side. There was woods on the side of the cleared lot, and the trailer sat horizontally with the road if you're facing it. So when you pull in, it's a gravel driveway, and it was pretty well kept place. You know, didn't look like dopers lived there or it was a shithole or anything like that. But I see Chuck is there. He's getting out of his vehicle, and I called in 259-201 is 1097, and I get out, and they are shutting the doors on the ambulance as I'm walking up. I said, "What are you doing?" I thought that it was a dead body. And they said, "No, we thought it was a dead body too." And when we got here, a male came out and told us, said, "I don't know what you're doing here. She doesn't need an ambulance. She needs a hearse. She's dead." And they said, "Well, we have to go in and check." And they went in and ran what we call a strip. And that's where they hook them up to the machine to see if there's any sign of life. And well, guess what? She had a heartbeat, even though she wasn't breathing at the time, the paramedic said. So they started to work on her and, got her loaded up. And Chuck's like, "Okay, where are y'all going?" "North Oaks." And they said, "Yeah." In North Oaks, y'all have heard me talk about it in previous episodes. It was the closest hospital, but it was in Tangipahoa Parish and probably 20 minutes away from where we were located at this time. So they get in an ambulance and they leave, and we're like, "We'll be over there in a little while." And there's a male standing on the porch, and I'll describe him for you. He probably was like 50, 55. I don't know. I'm guessing it was hard for me to judge age back then because now I'm that age, right? He was an older male, balding on top, probably 5'9", maybe, really heavy set, big, thick Coke bottle glasses. The kind of when you look at somebody in the eyes and their eyes look big, when you're looking at the glasses, I mean, they were thick. And he was in blue jeans and tennis shoes and what we call a wife beater shirt, which is the white sleeveless t-shirt. And so we go up and say, hey, I'm Detective Overton. It's Detective Watts. Are you the person who called it in? He said, yeah, I did. He said, I don't know why y'all here. I mean, she's dead. And I said, well, obviously she's not dead. They found a heartbeat. They're taken to the hospital. I said, but who are you? And he told me his name. I'm just going to use part of it. He told me his name was Boudreaux. And that's a good, strong Cajun name, right? And I said, well, what happened? And he said, I came home from work this morning at 6 o'clock. I said, well, where do you work? He said, I work the night shift in a fabrication shop. He said, I'm the foreman there. I said, all right. He said, I came home from work at 6 and I went into her room. And I said, who's her? And he said, it's Jackie. And I'm not going to use the last name. And he said, I went into Jackie's room and I walked up on her and she had the covers pulled up to her neck and she was sleeping. He said, so I went out and I shut the door and I went to bed. He said, when I woke up, I heard the baby crying. And I said, what baby? And he said, Jackie's got the 2.5-year-old and the 2.5-year-old, the baby has its own room. And that's why I'm not going to use names, y'all, because I don't know where this kid is nowadays. But he said, so I go down the hallway and open the door and I see the baby's still in its crib in the room. And then, so I opened Jackie's door and she was on the floor and she was dead. And I'm like, okay, so how do you know she was dead? He said, I just know she was dead. And I said, did you touch her? He said, I never touched her. I never touched her. I said, all right. And I said, so you just know she was dead? He said, that's right. And now Chuck said, Mr. Boudreaux, if you would excuse us for a minute. And he took me to the side and he said, look, he called 911 and told the dispatchers to send a hearse because his daughter was dead. Well, I'm thinking that's kind of fucking strange, right? I mean, if you call 911 saying send a hearse, I mean, right away I was just like, I had a bad feeling, right? And so we go back and we're talking to him. Let me explain the trailer. When you walk in the front door of the trailer, immediately to the left was a bedroom that had a bathroom. It was a master bedroom. It was a bedroom that had a bathroom in it. And Boudreaux said that was his room. And then directly in front of you and to your right was a kitchen with a half bar, with stools on it. And then there was a back door directly in the back end of the kitchen that you could see. It had a window on it. And then as you go to the right, you're in the living room area. And it was a well-kept place. It was clean. And then you look down to your right and there's a hallway. And you go down that hallway and the first door on the left was Jackie's room. And the second door on the left was the baby's room. And then there was a bathroom at the end of the hallway. So again, we're talking to Boudreaux and I said, Mr. Boudreaux, I said, what do you think happened? He said, I don't know. She's had a problem with pill addiction for a long time. He said, and I guess she overdosed. I'm like, okay. So I went and got my camera out of the car and came back in, had him sit tight, and Chuck was talking to him a little bit. And I went ahead and photographed the inside of the residence and I had him show me where he found her on the floor. And there was a blanket on the floor, a blue, cheap blanket from Walmart. And you could tell the bed had been slept in, but I really wasn't paying much attention. I mean, I was shooting a couple photographs, but she's not there. And I mean, there's no puddles of blood or anything like that. There's no signs of a struggle. I looked at Boudreaux while we were talking to him and I didn't see any obvious scratches or anything on his face or on his arms. And he had on a wife beater shirt. So I could see plenty. And anyway, so we just got the recorder out and did like we normally do and say, hey, my name's Woody Overton. I'm a detective who lives in the Parish Sheriff's Office. Present with me are Detective Chuck Watts, and we're at such and such address, and we're going to be taking a tape recorded statement of Mr. Boudreaux said today's date and today's time. And said, Mr. Boudreaux, we responded here because you called 911. He said, that's correct. And I said, what did you tell 911? He said, I told them they need to send somebody, that my stepdaughter was dead. I said, did you tell them that they needed to send someone or they needed to send a hearse? He said, I might have said hearse. He said, I mean, what does it matter? She was dead. I said, okay, and then tell me what happened. And he went through the story again, that he got home and he went to Jackie's room to check on her. And he not only did he didn't just crack the door open and check on her, which I guess if you're going to check on someone, that could have been reasonable. But he said, I walked up to her bed. She had the covers pulled up to her neck and she was sleeping. And he said, and then I went to bed and I woke up and I heard the baby crying. And then I went to Jackie's room and she was on the floor and she was dead. And again, I locked him into the statement. I said, I mean, you didn't touch her. You didn't try to give her CPR or anything like that. He said, no, she was dead. What am I going to do that for? I said, all right. And then meanwhile, we're sitting there and taking a tape statement and finishing it up about the ambulance coming, et cetera. And I'm looking up and I see this photograph of this beautiful, beautiful blonde-headed girl. And I said, is that Jackie? And he said, yeah, that's her. And I'm talking about this girl was fine, right? I said, how old is she? And he said, she's 22. I said, okay. I said, who's the other lady in the photo? He said, that's her mama. I said, that's your wife? And he said, yeah. So where is she at? He said, well, that's kind of a strange story. I said, well, tell me, where's she at? You know, and he said, well, she's in the burn unit in the Baton Rouge General Hospital in Baton Rouge. I said, what happened to her? He said, well, we're not really sure, but she was out back on a trash pile, I think, trying to light the trash pile on fire, and she burned her legs up. He's kind of being evasive about it, and I'm thinking, well, shit, maybe she was cooking meth or something. I don't know. But and I said, okay, so how long has she been in burn unit for? And he said, for about 3 weeks. I'm thinking, damn, right? And then so I'm looking at Jackie, and I'm thinking, God, I mean, this, y'all, she was like, she could have been a model for Sports Illustrated swimsuit model or Victoria's Secret, whatever. She was absolutely drop dead gorgeous. And it just struck pause to me. I was thinking to myself that, you know, why would you come in, you worked all night, you come in and you're going to walk all the way down that hallway and then open that door and walk up to her and stand over her. And then I know he did this because he told me unsolicited that she had the covers pulled up to her neck. And that just really struck me as strange. First of all, that he would go beyond, the hell are you checking on a 22-year-old, right? I mean, and if you're going to check on her, can't you just crack the door and see that she's sleeping, especially if she's got the covers up to her neck? And that unsolicited statement of the covers up to the neck just rang wrong with me. And the fact that he would go into her room. But I mean, I didn't have anything to go on. So we're just locking him into his original statement. And it is what it is. You know, that's what he had to say. And we didn't have any evidence or anything else. And so we thanked him. And I said, Mr. Boudreaux, I said, if it's okay, I'm going to leave my car here. We got to go to North Oaks Hospital, and on the way back, if we need to talk to you, can we talk to you? He said, no. He said, I got to go to work. I said, what do you mean? I said, you're not coming to the hospital? And he said, no, man. He said, I got to go to work. I got to work tonight. And I said, Mr. Boudreaux, I said, she's on the way to the hospital. It doesn't look like she's going to make it. I mean, what about telling her mom? He said, I'll tell her later on. He said, I got to go to work. I said, well, can you give me your work phone number? If we need to contact you, I'll call you. He said, I don't know why you'd be calling me, but he gave me the phone number. I said, regardless, I said, I'm going to leave my car here because it's out of the way for logistical reasons. It'd be easier for Chuck to drop me off here than it would be for me to leave my car somewhere else. He said, that's fine. So Chuck and I leave and we get in the car and he's driving. We're going to North Oaks Hospital. And I'm like, dude, something's not right. And he said, what do you mean? And I said, why would you go to check on your 22-year-old? And if you do, why not just stop at the door? Why go in and why tell us that she had the covers up to her neck? I mean, he said it several times. And like, yeah. I mean, he said, I get that, but the air conditioner could have been on. It could have been cold. He said, look, Woods, and he called me Woods. or Woodrow. Said, look, Woods, not every case is going to be a homicide. I said, dude, I'm not saying it's a homicide. I'm just saying it's strange. He calls 911, says send a hearse. And then when Acadian gets there, he says, I don't know why y'all here. She needs a hearse, not an ambulance. And I said, it just doesn't jive with me, And he said, well, we'll go right out here and see what the deal is. So it takes about 15, 20 minutes to get to the hospital. And then we have to go around back. And then we have to go to the security desk and badge our way through. Badge means show your ID and sign in and tell them who you're here to see. And we get access to the emergency room. And they were actually very busy for a Sunday afternoon. I would say there was a lot of activity. Hey, ladies, are you feeling overwhelmed by hormonal changes? Well, you're definitely not alone. There are more than 1,000 hormone disruptors living in our environment right now. It's in your food, your water, the air you breathe, the clothes you wear, your skincare products. They all mess with your hormones. Then there's the natural hormone changes your body goes through, premenopause, menopause. And while it's a natural process, it doesn't mean you have to suffer through it. The good news is you don't have to suffer through it anymore, because now you have Hormone Harmony, a formula made only with herbal ingredients that are shown to reduce hormonal symptoms in women of all ages. Hormone Harmony is not just a hormone supporting supplement. It's become a phenomenon. Women can't stop talking about it on social media. A bottle of Hormone Harmony is sold every 24 seconds. And the biggest benefit? Well, my wife says it makes her feel like her own self again. And that's what women mention over and over in the reviews. And there are over 30,000 reviews for Hormone Harmony. And for a limited time, you can get 15% off your entire first order at happymammoth.com. Just use code RLRC at checkout. That's happymammoth.com and use code RLRC for 15% off today. That's happymammoth.com and use code RLRC. Hey, y'all, let me tell you about Mochi. Mochi is a telehealth platform that connects patients seeking medication-based weight loss treatment with board-certified doctors and dietitians to help them determine the best treatment options to accomplish that goal. Mochi's program is completely virtual, meaning you can access their services anywhere in the United States and you will be meeting with their team online. You deserve doctors that listen. Mochi is dedicated to providing holistic, patient-centered care that prioritizes overall well-being with the goal of transforming how weight management is approached. Mochi Health takes a holistic approach to weight loss that includes visit with board-certified doctors, nutrition consultations, and medications delivered to your door. Science-backed medications including GLP-1s like Ozempic and generic compound versions, affordable and accessible regardless of insurance coverage. With Mochi, their dietitians work hand in hand with your medication to create personalized nutrition plans that fit your lifestyle. Reach your weight loss goals with science-backed, FDA-approved GLP-1 medications and support from real doctors and guidance from registered dietitians and help with making easy and sustainable changes to achieve results. Y'all have seen this. My wife has done it. My brother-in-law has done it. One of my best friends is doing it, and it really is an amazing process that works. So get started at joinmochi.com and use code RLRC to receive $40 off. That's joinmochi.com and use code RLRC to receive $40 off and let Mochi help change your life. Doctors and nurses running in and out of rooms, but I went to the charge desk and said, hey, we're here to see Jackie. I'm not going to say the last name. And they said, well, she's in that room over there, room 3, but they were working on her and you can't go in yet. She said, but let me go check. So we waited, and then she came back out and she said, no, the doctor said, y'all can't go in yet. I said, all right. So we went and waited outside the room. And then about 5-6 minutes later, this doctor comes out. He's about 6'1". He's probably mid-30s, typical deal, the white coat on, the scrubs on, the stethoscope around his neck. And he looks at us and looks down at our badges and guns. And right away, you could tell he was no friend of the police, right? And he was like, what do you want? And I said, what do you mean what we want? We got a girl who's probably going to die, and we're here to work the case. And he said, well, there's nothing for you to work. I said, what do you mean? He said, this is a drug overdose and she is not going to make it. I said, well, Doc, we need to get in and photograph her. He said, you're not going in. She is a drug head and she has overdosed and she is not going to make it. And I said, okay. I said, well, can you tell me anything about her appearance? I said, did you examine her for injuries? He said, I know how to do my job. Don't tell me how to do my job. I said, well, I know how to do my job too. And I need to know if there are any type of injuries or anything to her. He said, I looked at her and she doesn't have any injuries. She's a dope head and that's it. And you can just leave because you're not getting in. And Chuck tapped me on the shoulder and said, come on. And we went over in the corner. He said, listen, dude. He said, you can't force your way in. The doc says we can't go in. We can't go in. And he says it's a drug overdose. It's a drug overdose. And that's it. That's a wrap. I'm like, well, shit doesn't sit right with me. And I said, we're not even going to photograph her. He said, well, if there's a question of something, then they'll order an autopsy after they examine her and everything. And I was like, all right. I mean, you're the senior partner, right? Now, on Sunday evenings, after we'd worked a long week of nights, Chuck would get off at 6 p.m. and I would cover it till 6 a.m. that morning. So it's already his getting off time. And he took the doctor for his word that it was an overdose. And what would generally happen is Chuck would go home and like to unwind and have a couple of what he calls cool pops, which he drank Coors Light. And I know he had a hookup and he never shared it with me. It was one of the local beer men that gave him, I didn't drink Coors Light anyway, but the local beerman that gave him, I don't know if a Coors Light that was left over in the store or something. I just know he had a hell of a hookup because they always had cases of Coors Light. But anyway, so this is kind of his chill time. And he's been doing this like 25 plus years. And I'm like, well, you know what? I just have to temper myself down and go with the voice of experience. And so we're driving back over the thing. And I said, dude, you just don't think it's something's funny about it? He said, Woods, not every case is a homicide. And I said, well, I said, I would have liked to at least seen her, right? And he said, well, the doctor wasn't going to let it happen. He made that obvious. So he dropped me off and back at the car at Boudreaux's house, and Boudreaux's vehicle, I forgot to tell you, he had a truck that was parked there earlier and it was gone. So I got in my car and I drove back and I went to the sheriff's office and I'm working my night shift, right? Working some reports, writing up the report on this incident. And at 6 o'clock the next morning, I was off and the day shift picked it up, or they would go on call. They didn't come out to 8 o'clock, but they would go on call if something major happened, right? And I had court that morning anyway, as I did on most days, whether it's motion suppress or problem cause hearings or some arrest I made or whatever. So basically 4 days a week in the morning I had court, period. And so I went to court that morning and then went back home, probably got in around noon and took a little nap and then got up. And then it was the next morning, actually around noon on Tuesday, Chuck calls me. Now we're off Monday and Tuesday after working the night shift. You're off. And he calls me, he said, man, we gotta roll. I said, what's wrong? He said, the chief of the intensive care unit at North Oaks called and wanted to talk to the detectives that worked the case on Jackie. I said, and he said, well, they punched me through to him. And he said that the chief doctor asked me, said, are you the detective who worked this case? I said, yes, I did. And he said, my partner, Woody Overton, I did. He said, well, are y'all coming to work it? And he said, work what? And he said, this girl has been severely traumatized and y'all need to come out here and work it. Nobody's been here since she's been in intensive care for 2 days. And I mean, this is serious. I mean, law enforcement needs to look at it. I mean, he said, who do I have to call? I got to call your sheriff. He said, no, you don't have to call a sheriff. He said, we were told that it was an overdose. And he said, well, this girl's got a lot of injuries to her. And I said, oh, fuck, here we go. And he said, she's got a lot of injuries and you need to get out here. He said, I looked it over today myself. And I told him, I said, I fucking told you, man. And he said, just come on. And he said, just meet me in Hammond at the hospital. I said, I'm like an hour away. He said, well, I got to get dressed and everything also. So we meet back up at the hospital. We sign in. This time we go upstairs to the intensive care unit. And security there also, you have to get let in. And we got let in, and the doctor came out, and we introduced ourselves, Detective Overton and Detective Watts. And can you tell us what's going on? He said, why don't y'all tell me what's going on? I said, what's going on is we responded to the residents. The stepfather said the girl was dead. She was already loaded in the Acadian ambulance. When we got there, they said they found a sign of life. They brought her to the hospital. We took a statement from the stepfather, and we came out to the hospital to the emergency room to work the case. And the emergency room doctor told us it was a drug overdose, and that was it. And I asked to see her, and he said no. I asked, did he examine her for injuries? And he said he did, and she didn't have any. He said, well, I don't know if he was blind that day or what, because she's got he didn't say shit ton. That's my language. He said she has a ton of injuries and they need to be documented. Something needs to be done about this. I'm like, okay. So we go in to the room, and she is hooked up on the breathing machine and all the stuff that's keeping her alive. And it was just sad to see such a beautiful, beautiful young lady. The machines are breathing for her, et cetera. But I'm looking at her, and shit, right away, I could see bruising on her face. And I don't know how to explain this, but the doc said, we'll do it step by step. He said, I'll show you every injury that I found. He said, what happened was when they brought her up to ICU, they cleaned her up, meaning they wiped her down and got her hooked up to all the machines, etc. He said that would have been sometime way in the middle of the night on Sunday. And he said, on Monday, no, they didn't know. We didn't know if she was going to live or not. We didn't think she was going to, even though she was on the machine. And he said, and then I came in today, and I'm making rounds, and I go in and look at her, and I see these bruises and scratches, and I'm like, what? And he said, and then I started looking, and I had the nurses come in, and we went over her body, and she's got a lot of injuries. So I said, well, doc, we need to see every one of them. And it's now, I said, on top of that, we need to call a SANE nurse. And y'all, SANE nurse is a sexual assault nurse. So the nurse is trained in collecting rape kits, basically. Okay. And it's a process, even when the victim or possible victim can cooperate and the nurse does the process, right? But now we have a body on the table that can't respond or anything else or move over. So we had to call for the SANE nurse. And meanwhile, and that takes a while. They're on call, and they had to come from wherever. And meanwhile, we started to photograph the injuries to the body. And we started at the top of the head. The doctor would point out the scratch or the bruise or whatever, and we're taking the pictures. And I asked him, I said, Doc, I said, what's, the bruising on here? That doctor said there was nothing, no scratches. Well, he didn't say specifically no scratches, no bruises. He said there were no injuries. And he said, well, I can tell you that these are fresh because, he said probably in the last 48 hours before she got here. He said, because they're still changing in color. I'm like, fuck me, man. We're so screwed, so fucking screwed, because a defense attorney is going to have a field day no matter what. Now we're as law enforcement, because we didn't press our way into that emergency room, doctor and photographer or whatever. All the defense attorneys got to say now as well, hell, she was in the hospital and somebody raped her and beat her in the hospital. You can't prove my client did anything. You can't prove that she didn't have these injuries, or that she had these injuries before she got to the hospital. As a matter of fact, you disproved that fact because you wrote a report that says the doctor says he examined her and she had no injuries and it's a drug overdose. And so I'm sick to my stomach. I mean, I'm absolutely sick to my stomach because this girl had 57 different injuries to her body. And I'm going to just try to describe some of them to you. There were different sizes of bruising. Some maybe could have been from fingers, like somebody grabbing a hold of you. But then there were some that were bigger, and which could be evidence of being slammed into something. Now, in the scratches, I don't really get the scratches part because it wasn't like deep fingernail gouges, if you will, but more like surface scratches. And so just shit, she had them from head to toe. Now, she didn't have the scratching on her breast, or I guess because she had a shirt on is what I'm figuring, on her breast or on her back, but she had bruising in the areas. It just variously, there was no rhyme or reason to it. They were spread out, but she had scratches on her lower legs. She had scratches on her arms and, and the bruising throughout. And I'm just, on the back of her legs and on just everywhere, man. I mean, it was a lot of pictures. And so the SANE nurse, the sexual assault nurse, shows up. I think it stands for sexual assault nurse examiner or something like that. SANE. And she takes her time and she works the rape kit. And I mean, that's the other thing. I said, Doc, we're going to need a processor for DNA. We want to swab all these bruises and all these scratch marks. He said, it ain't going to do any good. And I said, why? And he said, because they cleaned her down. They would have rinsed her from head to toe before they attached her to all the instruments in here. That's one of the steps of the process, is cleaning the body so you can tell if more injuries or if there's something they missed in the emergency room or whatever. I said, well, we have to try. Yeah. And he said, well, it ain't going to do any good because I can tell you they do a thorough washing of the body. And as a matter of fact, her hair, when we were there that time, was still kind of damp. And he said that was from them washing her down. So the SANE nurse processes her, and that includes everything from vaginal swabs to combing her pubic hairs. And so we're just praying we're going to get lucky on something. Obviously, I'm thinking rape that got out of hand, and that's my mindset. I mean, she's beautiful. She's a 10. And my part of the mindset is Boudreaux his wife's been in the hospital for 3 weeks, and he's going in to check on this 22 or 23-year-old, however old she was, when he gets in from work. And that didn't make any sense. I'm thinking Boudreaux may have went in and some foul play got started and rape or whatever, but who knows, right? We're so fucking far behind the 8 ball at this point. We are screwed from a law enforcement standpoint. Now we got to play catch up. So the SANE nurse does her thing, and we collect the rape kit, and the rape kit we have to go back to the sheriff's office, and it has to be refrigerated until we submit it to the crime lab, which we took all our evidence weekly on Wednesday mornings to Louisiana State Police Crime Lab. We had a standing appointment at 10 o'clock on Wednesdays, and all the evidence, all the drug arrests, everything that's been collected from uniform patrol to whatever, detectives, etc. All that evidence goes once a week. So we go back to the office and we meet with Norris Hull, who is our chief of detectives at the time. And Norris was just a phenomenal guy. I love him to death. You couldn't ruffle this guy's feathers. He was so old school. But he'd seen his shit, right? And he'd been doing it well over 30 years. He passed away a couple of years ago, and his wife, Karen, worked for the district attorney's office. And so I've known him a long time, and just one of the absolute best guys you ever meet in the entire history of the world. And we'll be telling some more stories about him in other episodes, but you couldn't razzle him. And we went in an office and sat down. He sits back and he had a dip in his mouth, and he's leaning back and said, well, boys, tell me what happened. And so we tell him, and he sits there and he never got mad. I never heard him raise his voice or anything, but you could tell he wasn't happy. And he said, well, we're kind of fucking screwed now, aren't we? And I said, yes, sir, we are. And he said, well, you got to work it. You got to run with it. What's your plans? And I told him, I said, we need to get a search warrant. We need to go hit that house. We need to get a search warrant for the premises. We need to get a search warrant for his body to look for scratches or anything like that. Work it like a homicide. He said, the girl gonna make it? And I said, no. And that's one thing I forgot to tell y'all. The doctor said there's no way she was gonna live. He said, well, get it. Get your warrant and get it signed, and we'll get a team of us and we'll go out there and handle it. He said, but first off, we got to go downstairs and talk to Kearney. Now, Kearney was the chief deputy, and Mr. Kearney Foster, who is the absolute best I ever knew. And I like to consider myself to be a part of his protege, good, bad, or indifferent. I have such mad respect and love for the man. But Mr. Kearney is a hard ass, and he would holler and yell and scream, and rightfully so. He said, we got to go downstairs and tell Kearney. And they said, y'all come on. And so we went down there and went in. And Mr. Kearney was sitting behind his desk. And that's where I talk about getting called on the carpet whenever he screws something up. Well, that was right there in front of his desk, and he'd tear your ass up. But, when he got done, he would give you some constructive criticism and you just move on, right? He didn't hold a grudge or anything. It was just business. And so we told him, and he would sit back and put his fingers together in a steeple formation in his chair. And man, he was pissed. He said, I can't believe y'all didn't get in there and get photographs of her when she was in emergency room. So Mr. Kearney said, I don't give a damn what that doctor said, blah, 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 blah. And he's right. I mean, it's nothing I could say. I just shut up. And Chuck, oh my God, I feel bad for him because Chuck just absolutely, I mean, he'd been working for Mr. Kearney for a long time and he knew what was coming. I remember when we had to go down there, and Chuck was kind of I don't want to call him pale skin, but he's light skinned. But man, when he was just as sick about it as I was, but he knew Kearney was going to go off, and he did, rightfully so. And so we go and have Tina Stafford, who was best secretary in the world, and she was a pro at banging out search warrants, et cetera, and told her the facts of the case, and she banged out the search warrant. Then we had to go find a judge to sign it, and you get sworn in front of the judge, and you say, these are the facts. You swear they're the facts, blah, blah, blah. Yes, I do. And he signs the warrant, search warrant, and then we go back upstairs and we get a team together. Now, surprisingly, Mr. Kearney was up there, and this is late in the evening now, y'all. And remember, the detectives get off at 4, but we had the 2 night shift detectives, which were Brian Paul Smith was out, and Brian Paul and I went to the academy together, and then we worked the street together, and then we were detective partners together, and et cetera. Just at the time, he was one of my best friends. And I think Ken McMorris was his partner. So they were there to work with us. Ken's another dear friend and a great cop. So we had Brian Paul and Ken, Robert Ardon, I don't think Robert had been in detectives that long, but he had been like spark something uncommon this holiday with just the right gift from Uncommon Goods. The busy holiday season is here, and Uncommon Goods makes it less stressful with incredible hand-picked gifts for everyone on your list, all in one spot. Gifts to spark joy, wonder, delight, and that's exactly what I wanted feeling. Hey, y'all, I ordered a super cool piece. It's a candle with a sculpture of LSU's Tiger Stadium on top of it. And each officially licensed laser cut wooden replica features up to 4 layers of detail, creating a bird's eye view of a specific football field, seating section, and more. And every label includes your stadium's name, the team's logo, and school location. And it has a coconut, soy, vegan wax infused with sandalwood smell that creates tailgates and touchdown scent profile, reminiscent of game day. It's invigorating like fresh cut grass and nostalgic like smoke from a pre-game grill, and calming like the crisp autumn air of a new semester on campus. Y'all, I love it. I have it at the base of my TV, and I'm ready to watch the Tigers play on Saturday night, right? Uncommon Goods. Look, when you shop at Uncommon Goods, you're supporting artists and small independent businesses. And many of their handcrafted products are made in small batches. So shop now before they sell out this holiday season. Uncommon Goods looks for products that are high quality, unique, and often handmade or made in the U.S. They have the most meaningful Out of the ordinary gifts anywhere. They even have gifts you can personalize. From holiday host and hostess gift to the coolest finds for kids to hits for everyone from the book lovers to diehard sports fans. Uncommon Goods has something for everyone, not the same old selections you can just find anywhere. And with every purchase you make at Uncommon Goods, they give $1 to a nonprofit partner of your choice. They've donated more than $3 million to date. So to get 15% off your next gift, go to uncommongoods.com/RLRC. That's uncommongoods.com/RLRC for 15% off. Don't miss out on this limited time offer. Uncommon Goods, we're all out of the ordinary. Hey, y'all, you want to set your child up for success? Is your child struggling with a specific subject or need help with the subject? Is your child ahead? Not getting challenged enough in class? Well, IXL Learning is an online learning program that enriches your homeschool curriculum. It offers practice in math, English, language arts, science, and social studies while adapting to each child, meeting them where they are. Plus, IXL encourages students to become curious and empowers them to choose how to learn. Look, we homeschool our son. No doubt about it. He's more of a visual learner, and we use IXL, and Cindy teaches him, and there are so many different benefits to the program. It adapts to exactly what he needs in different areas. So IXL is the perfect supplement to your homeschool curriculum. IXL offers interactive practice problems, educational games, lessons, and video tutorials for every topic you're teaching at home. It's easy to use, time-saving. Everything on IXL is organized by grade, subject, topic, and subtopic, making it simple to find activities for the exact skills you are covering. IXL offers instant feedback and explanations of new topics as kids use the program. Kids can explore any topic in any grade level. They aren't forced into a single learning path like they are on other programs. If you're homeschooling your child because they were falling behind or because they were too far ahead like our son, IXL is a great program to help them get the exact support they need. Kids love IXL's positive feedback awards and educational games. IXL is trusted by 15 million students worldwide and has proven to improve performance in over 75 scientific research studies. Make an impact on your child's learning. Get IXL now. And Real Life, Real Crime listeners can get an exclusive 20% off IXL membership when they sign up today at IXL.com/today. Visit IXL.com/today to get the most effective learning program out there at the best price. And don't forget, Real Life, Real Crime listeners get 20% off. Y'all, we really do use this product, and it's been a godsend. Uniform patrol supervisor for a long time, etc. He was there. That was 3. Chuck and I was 5. And then Mr. Kearney wanted to go to this scene. He said, I want to come. He said, I want to see, I guess he was thinking it could turn into a pretty big scandal, right? Fuck up. So that Mr. Kearney had never come out on the scene with us. Ever but I hadn't been a detective that long. And so we get together and we're like, he said, tell us about the residence. And I described it, and we were going to do a knock as opposed to a no knock because I didn't see any guns in the house when we were there before. Didn't mean he didn't have one, but I ran his criminal history. Boudreaux had nothing, not even a traffic ticket. So we made the plan, approached the residence in case he tried to run. Ken was going to go to the back door, and Brian Paul, and we were going to approach the residence and gain entry. If he wasn't there, we were going to take the door and do our search warrant anyway. But we knew that he was working the night shift at that fab shop. And so I called and just to see if he'd answer the phone, and I blocked the number and I called and he answered. I guess it was his day off. And so I hung up and I'm like, he's there. And Kearney said, when we hit it, I want you and Brian Paul and Ken and Chuck to go through everything. He said, I'm going to, no, he wanted Chuck with him. And Mr. Kearney said, Chuck and I are going to interview Boudreaux. He said, I want y'all to work the residence. You photograph everything. You take anything that looks even like it could be possibly involved with any type of sexual thing or anything like that. And he said, we would need the sheets and stuff off that bed and just look for anything. And he said, we're going to talk to him. We'll do the search of his body to see if he's got any scratches and all that. And so I said, let's roll. So we roll over there and pull into the yard, and it's not dark yet. It was still daylight outside. And we pull in and we go up and knock on the door. Boudreaux opens it, and he's standing there in his wife beater t-shirt and blue jeans, and he's looking at me, and his eyes were a little bit bigger when he saw us. And then Mr. Kearney and Chuck and Robert behind me and all the police cars in his driveway. His eyes were a little bit bigger behind those thick glasses. So I'm going to stop it right there for this week. This is just a really strange case, y'all. If you think you know where it's going, you have no idea. But because it's so long, I'm going to stop it right there. So now just continue to listen next week. I don't think it'll go into 3 parts, but it's just absolutely one of the most fascinating cases. Fascinating chains of events on fuck-ups, weird shit as far as a criminal case goes. So what happened to Jackie? Tune in again next week. And I'm Woody Overton, your host of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast. Until next week or ever, don't let me catch you down on Murder by You. Okay, y'all, I want to make some announcements. And I'm going to start with just saying thank y'all to everybody for listening and liking and sharing and subscribing Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast. As you know, if you listen to the episode I dropped, we made the finals in the podcast awards in 2 out of the 3 categories we were nominated in. We made it in drama and storytelling and then society and culture. So excited, so pleased, so stoked. You lifers are the best fans in the world. And I love and appreciate y'all. Just awesomeness is what it is. We're well over 200,000 downloads now, and the number's growing a lot every day. And it's because y'all are liking and sharing us, and I really appreciate it. And I'm going to ask again, because I didn't know how important it was as far as people being able to find you when they Google, etc. But if you haven't, will you please take a second and go to iTunes and look up Real Life, Real Crime, and leave us a review on iTunes. And I don't know why it's iTunes, y'all, because I have the list of all the different platforms that we're on and who downloads the most, and iTunes is like 6th or 7th on the list. That's where the reviews are, and it would help us grow. And I appreciate it if y'all would just take the time and go there and leave a review, good, bad, or indifferent. It doesn't matter, but it'll help us. And remember our social media, and my favorite page is the private group we have, Real Life, Real Crime, Friends, Fans, and Crew. That's KREWE. We passed 1,900 members this week, and it's growing. We'll probably be over 2,000 by this time next week. So y'all go check it out. The Dream Team moderators will get you approved, and they're awesome. We love our Dream Team. They do so much. Not only do they approve things for the crew page, but they help promote Real Life, Real Crime, and they find our promos, and just they do a plethora. Everybody has something that they like to do. And we added a new Dream Team member this week, Miss Millicent Turk. And I think she's going to be a huge advantage to us. She's very knowledgeable about podcasts, and true crime is her passion. So we appreciate you, sweetie. I'm glad you're on board. Looking forward to working with you. So anyway, y'all, check out that page because there's so many posts. It's fan interaction, and they like Karen Ortolano posts a new criminal case almost every day, and then the fans post whatever they want to post. And there's a lot of great discussions and stuff from me, etc. So check it out. If you like Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast, you're going to love that page. And then we have our regular Real Life, Real Crime Facebook page, and then we have the Real Life, Real Crime Lanyap page, and Lanyap is just a Cajun word meaning something extra, a bonus, or free, and that's where because we had so many people on the crew page. The Lanyap page is where fans can go and share their hobbies, and we've exchanged things like we've exchanged some hot sauces and beers and different things with fans like that. But also our cookbook is on there, and Carolee Coggins is a Dream Team member. She's running that. And after every episode, they do a different category for the cookbook. And so check it out. It's really interesting. And we're on YouTube. And that's grown a lot, y'all. And I've been remiss. I've been traveling so much, but I'm about to start laying out a bunch of videos. And then, of course, we have Instagram and Twitter and whatever else. So check out our social media, like us, share us, etc. And now I want to tell you about the Lanyap button. Now, the Lanyap button is on www.realliferealcrime.com, our website. And I honestly, y'all, we did that like a couple months ago, and I forgot about it. And a fan, a lifer the other day hit me up and he said, "Hey, is there any way I can do something to another way?" He's a patron also, but he wanted to know, was there any way that they could contribute something more financially to the show once in a while besides patron, right? And I said, well, yeah, actually, you know what? We have a Lanyap button. And he went, name is Alex, and then he doesn't give his last name on patron, so I'm assuming it's he. He went and donated $50 through the Lanyap button. So Alex, man, you know, I already told you, but I really appreciate you. And that was pretty awesome to have it used for the first time. Well, guess what? Within a day, another lifer, Miss Hillary Hook, who is from Australia, from down under, and Australia is by far our second leading country in downloads. And, then it's followed by the UK, or actually Canada, then the UK, and we're in 120 something countries around the world. It just blows my mind. The Hillary Hook turned around and hit the Lanyap button. So Hillary Hook, you know I love you, sweetie. You didn't have to do that, but I appreciate it. Any little bit helps. It really does. And to offset some of the costs of the show and the time we spend doing the show, which is a lot. And the patron members, man, we got a bunch of new patrons in the last week or so, and I'm going to read some of them. I'm not going to read all of them today because it's long, but I want to give some shout outs to them. Like Miss Madison Siberia, Sebera. Madison, your charge is vandalism. Thank you, sweetie. And Ashley Jones, you've been charged with vandalism. Thank you, my dear. And Amber Salad is charged with harassment. Amber, you've been charged. And Nicole Gordano has been charged with loitering. Thank you, Nicole. We appreciate you. And Denise Brian, Brean. I'm going out on a limb, Denise, and saying that I'm saying that correctly. But you have been charged with vandalism. Thank you. Christine Little, your charge is harassment, Christine. You're a sweetheart. I appreciate it. And April Driscoll, your charge is vandalism, April. You've been charged, and I appreciate you. Alana Yeager, vandalism is your charge, Alana. I appreciate you. Amber Rogers, you got disturbing the peace, Amber. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. And Cricket Worrell, I think that's how you say it, Cricket, Worrell. You have been charged with disturbing the peace. And Diana Bardwell, you have been charged with disturbing the peace, and I appreciate you. And Amy Roberts, your charge is vandalism. Thank you, Amy. I appreciate you. And Dawn Leach, disturbing the peace is your charge, Dawn. Thank you. I appreciate you. And Amy Davidson, loitering, Amy. That's your charge, and I appreciate you. Leah Covell, Kovel, your charge is vandalism, Leah. Thank you so much, sweetie. Brian Terrebonne, loitering is your charge, Brian. Cuff up, buddy. I appreciate you. Samantha Green, disturbing the peace. Thank you, Samantha. You're awesome, and I appreciate you. Kathleen Dean, you got open container is your charge, and I appreciate you. Thank you, Kathleen. Miss Erin M. Condon, harassment's your charge. I appreciate you, Erin. Thank you so much. Kristen Minnis, I'm guessing Minnis, disturbing the peace. Kristen, I hope I said your name right, sweetie, but I appreciate you. And here's one. I'm going to mess this up. Maybe Moises Silva. It's Moises. Your charge is loitering. Silva, loitering. And then we'll stop it right there, y'all. There was more, but we'll do more next week. And I didn't want to take too much time because I still want to say a couple more things. All you fans, and I hope you're still listening because I should have said this first. Certainly Patreon is a big, huge help for us. But I love and appreciate all the fans, man. When you're going to these Facebook true crime pages and stuff like that, and people are asking for recommendations and you know, real life, real crime keeps popping up. Boom, boom, boom. By Woody Overton. Man, it makes me feel special. And I mean, people that I don't even know who they are are recommending us. And that's because of y'all. You liking us and sharing us and telling people about us. And people are leaving us comments on Facebook. And, you know, it's just been a hell of a ride. And I appreciate y'all. And we're going to, let me tell you about my Audible book real quick. It's a book that I published in 2014. It's about what happened to me and when I died on the table in 2009 and the stuff that followed after that. But it has it's just my story, but it has a lot of cop stuff in it. There's 2 death scene or I don't want to let the cat out of the bag on that one, but there's 2, but at least 3, 1 homicide or 2 homicides and 1 death scene investigation, and there's cop stuff and whatever. But there's also, it's just my story. I'm not trying to preach to anybody or anything. I don't care if you atheist or Catholic or Baptist or Buddha or whatever. I don't care. And I judge people on their character, and I treat people how they treat me. And so, but I think it's a pretty good story, and we really released it last week, I think, and it's gotten all 5-star reviews on the Audible review part. I think 14 people took the time to actually leave reviews. A lot more bought it, and I'm appreciative of that. But here's the deal. Look in the show notes, because if you never had an Audible book before, you can get it for free. And so we're going to put that link in the show notes. You click on that. And if you've never I've never listened to an audio book, and we'll put the link in there. And if you've never had an Audible book before, you get it for free. And then if you get it, leave us a review. I appreciate that. If you have had Audible books before, I think it's for sale for like $6, y'all. And, it's a couple hours of me, and it's shit. I don't even like to think about it now. It's a tough deal. It's a tough story, but it's a true story. And so if you would check that out. And I have a new book. I signed a contract to narrate for a pretty well-known author. She's got like over 30 published books, and I'll be finishing that book, and it'll be going in for final submission. It'll be released, probably sometime in the next couple of weeks. So, and I'll make announcements about that when it comes out. And, it's the first of a 4-part series. And anyway, that's it. So I love and appreciate all of y'all, and I'm thankful for you, and thank you for everything that you do, and watch us grow, baby. And it's because of y'all. So comments or bitches or gripes, complaints, send them to me, and I'll answer it one way or another. You may not like what I have to say, but I've made a lot of changes to this show based off of people who made comments, and including putting all this talking at the end of the show and all that. I mean, just little things we glean, and there's some things that I'm not ever going to change, like saying patron. I say it the way I want to, right? And, but I'm certainly open to your suggestions, and thank y'all for everything. And then, like I said, in 2 weeks, a week from Sunday, I go to Orlando for a convention, and Jim, the Hitman Raffman, lives in Orlando, and we're going to lay down a bunch of tracks for a future show. The last one we did over the phone, the audio wasn't the best, but we're still learning as we go, and we'll get better on it. So I want to do a bunch with him face to face and put them up in the vault. We're going to put some Patreon episodes up. That's it. I could just talk all day, I guess. And love y'all. And then thanks for all of you who voted for us for the podcast awards. And we'll see how that turns out. I think that it comes out sometime in September on International Podcast Day is when the awards are announced. But love y'all. I appreciate you. And until next week, peace. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be against you in a court of law. You have the right to an attorney prior to and during questioning. If you can't afford one, the court will appoint one for you. You understand your rights?
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.